The following half-hour show is a paid political program and is not endorsed by this station, management, or staff.
The following program is sponsored by Excalibur Insurance Management Services.
We are pleased to welcome to this week's show former United States Ambassador Carla Sands. She has announced her candidacy for the Republican nomination for the United States Senate, a seat that became open when current United States Senator Pat Toomey announced he would not seek re-election. Ambassador Sands grew up in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. Ironically, she grew up in a family medical practice, not a political one. Her father was a doctor of chiropractic medicine, as well as her grandfather. Carla went on to study biology and chemistry at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and then went on to Elizabethtown College before receiving her medical degree. Besides her background in medicine, Carla took over her late husband's financial company, becoming the first woman to serve as chairman and CEO of Vintage Capital Group. In 2016, Carla met presidential candidate Donald J. Trump, believing in his America First agenda. After his election, President Trump appointed her to his Economic Advisory Council. And then, in 2017, President Trump called on Carla to represent the United States as ambassador to Denmark. As ambassador, Carla established a United States consulate in Greenland, where she facilitated partnership agreements between the U.S. and Greenland. For her exceptional service, she received the Department of Defense's highest civilian honor, the Medal for Distinguished Service. We look forward to talking to Carla today on what propelled her to announce her candidacy and the difference she thinks she can make in the Senate representing Pennsylvania, and why she believes so strongly in an American First agenda.
This is the Volpe Report, a weekly news and political interview show examining the latest local, state, and national issues with Chuck Volpe. Insightful, informative, controversial, the area's premier political talk show, the Volpe Report.
Carla, welcome to the Volpe Report.
Thank you.
First of all, for my audience, they're going to think it's an imposter because of my voice. But so I lost it somewhere over the holidays. Maybe it was cheering on my Raiders the other night in a football game. But I know how busy you are. You're a candidate for United States Senate from Pennsylvania. So let's start, Carla, with something I tell most of my guests that I know your media people have explained to you. People don't know you yet. They're just starting to find out about you. So the best way, what I can do to kind of start helping you get noticed in this media market is have you tell a little bit about your roots in Pennsylvania. And I wanted to mention that specifically because roots in Pennsylvania is already an issue in this campaign from some of the other announced candidates. So you do have roots in Pennsylvania, born and raised. So talk a little bit about your history in Pennsylvania and your family.
Well, thanks, Chuck. Thanks for welcoming me. And I just want to set the table for your viewers that I am a fiscal and constitutional conservative. I'm a pro-life, pro-First and Second Amendment, America First conservative. And that's my platform that I'm running on. And I've been working to forward the America First agenda since 2016. But I did grow up in Cumberland County in the center of our great Commonwealth. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. I worked at Hershey Park and went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania and Elizabethtown College and practiced alongside my father in our 3rd generation Doctor of Chiropractic office. And my Pennsylvania ancestors fought in the American Revolution and in the Civil War.
Wow.
And my dad was actually born in Greensburg.
Wow.
So
Southwestern Pennsylvania?
Yes, that's right. And you know, it's terrific. I'm able to live close to my 82 and 83-year-old parents. I'm blessed to have long living parents. And so that's a wonderful thing as well. And I mean, I grew up in a loving, faith-filled home. We loved to bike ride and hike on the Appalachian Trail. So I was lucky to experience that idyllic Pennsylvania childhood. And then the Pennsylvania work ethic that I grew up with which is changing. I can see as many companies tell me they can't find the people they need to help staff their offices or their factories, their shipping, whatever it may be. So that is an issue. But I was proud to actually raise money, like you said, for President Trump and to support his America First agenda. Since 2016, I'm the only candidate that actually supported him before I was running for the Senate.
Wow.
Before, the America First agenda, I helped raise money for him. He did appoint me to his Economic Advisory Council and then as his ambassador to Denmark. Yeah. And so in 2017, I moved with my then teenage daughter to Copenhagen, and we worked with our great embassy team at the U.S. Embassy there. And in 1 year, we increased U.S. exports to Denmark over 22%.
Wow!
So we created jobs here at home. Yeah. And from my work,
let me interject first.
Yeah.
Where did the initial spark, if you will, the transition from a doctor in a practice with the family practice, third generation family practice, to public service? That's kind of a pretty good detour. So what was it? President Trump? Was it something in you that changed? But why did you decide? I've heard it called an infection of the spirit, public service. It's incurable. I can testify to that. So when did you make that transition and why?
Well, I think it's a calling in life. I grew up with it in our family. We did a lot of public service, charitable efforts. And then I married the love of my life in 1999. And we had our beautiful daughter together. And we worked together to raise a lot of money for worthy causes and for candidates, because we followed Ronald Reagan's rule: work to get elected the most conservative person that you can. Right. And so we worked on that together, and it was a true partnership. And that's what we were doing, working, and that's why I helped work to get President Trump elected. And I believed in his agenda. It is absolutely in line with Pennsylvanians, because we've seen the hollowing out of our great Commonwealth over the decades. I can remember driving through Johnstown as a young girl. The street was filled with people that were well dressed. The shops were full of goods, and people were thriving. They were energetic, and they had a beautiful middle and upper middle class life. And then we saw over the decades the hollowing out of our towns throughout Pennsylvania as factories and jobs went away, often offshore. And I've watched that in my lifetime. It's devastating. And part of what I want to do for Pennsylvania is work with whoever is elected governor to bring businesses here. There's no reason Pennsylvania is not more like Texas and Florida and less like New York, with our incredible natural resources, the energy in our ground, our outstanding university system, and our awesome healthcare.
Well, Carla, you understand that one of the fights I've been engaged in right from this studio, our governor put us into something called RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which is devastating to Pennsylvania business. It's devastating to the energy sector, and it will effectively be a tax on Pennsylvania. Yeah. We're going to have to barter with states that have no energy to buy our own energy back. Travesty, an absolute travesty.
It is a travesty, and I saw Connecticut already pulled out of it. It's more war on our Pennsylvania energy sector. We need to fight with whoever is elected next governor to pull us out of this thing. It is perverse, and it's really going to hurt our seniors on a fixed income and working families. This is going to be about $500 more a year, I think it's going to cost them just to heat their home. We can see the devastating effects that the Biden administration is having on Pennsylvania's energy. And it is affecting everything, our supply chain. It's affecting the cost of goods in the grocery store. It's affecting the price at the pump. Their war on Pennsylvania's energy is profound.
Right.
I want to reverse that in Washington and make opportunity. I'll give you another example, if I may.
Please.
I drove by the cracker plant here in Western Pennsylvania just a few weeks ago. It's gigantic and wonderful. And that's where they unlock the molecules of the things that are in our Pennsylvania soil to create the products like what goes into our cars, into our household products, into our clothing. They did a void analysis, and Pennsylvania needs 4 to 5 cracker plants. What if we bring those hundreds of billions of dollars of investment, put it here, skill up our labor force? I visited the Lackawanna College that is training the energy workers of today. Well, we're going to need more for tomorrow. Let's blow this up. We have the opportunity to grow our Pennsylvania economy so that we become the powerhouse we're supposed to be. And the onerous regulations, onerous taxes, and bad leadership have led us to lose congressional seats. And in 2019, the best economy of my lifetime, we lost $1.7 billion of GDP because companies and families voted with their feet and they left.
Right. Yeah, the exodus from Pennsylvania is a serious issue. And of course, it was spurred on by what our governor did during this pandemic, Carla. So I'd like some of your comments on that. What is your, well, let me go back first. Our governor in March of 2020 shut our entire state down, like everything. He put businesses into bankruptcy. They put hundreds of thousands of people into unemployment. And then in his own labor and industry department, didn't have the ability to process their claims. 75,000 Pennsylvanians last year had not received their first unemployment check at the end of 2020. So he devastated Pennsylvania. So having said that now, we are now moving into different phases, obviously, of this COVID-19 pandemic. So I'd like your take on how the president, Joe Biden, when he said we're going to stamp this out by the 4th of July, obviously that has not happened. I'd like your take on where we are and how the president and his administration is handling the pandemic.
Well, as you know, I was proud to work in the Trump administration, and we saw President Trump work with private industry to activate warp speed. He was able to harness private industry, but also make all kinds of improvements, increasing manufacturing jobs, having the best employment of my lifetime for women, but also for all groups, minority groups, the least educated. When we look at what he did, this new president, President Biden, with this virus, where he campaigned on, I'm gonna stamp out the virus. Instead, he didn't provide the tests he said he was going to do. This is a do-nothing administration except damage the American economy. The multi-trillion dollars that he is encouraging the Congress and Senate to pass over and over is heating up our economy and causing inflation that's really a tax on Pennsylvanians. Last year, because Biden was president, it cost them $3,500 more just because of the inflation that his bad leadership created. I'm reading that this year it's going to cost Pennsylvania families $5,000 more because of Biden's bad leadership. In fact, we just saw the inflation numbers come out yesterday, 7% inflation, and they want to print more trillions. But the money that they're trying to print is basically Green New Deal infrastructure that's going to hurt our farmers, further hurt and regulate our energy workers. They're going to try to regulate everything in our lives. Pennsylvanians are very independent people. We understand the Constitution and we actually care about it. We're the heart, the beating heart of our nation, where our Constitution was signed and founded. So we know the difference between good leadership and bad leadership. Right now, we have bad leadership in Washington. I am running for the U.S. Senate to change that leadership. We're going to stop this bad agenda from the left and the Biden administration in this election. And then in 2024, we're going to take back the White House, because Pennsylvanians want common sense regulations. They want common sense taxes. They do not like this Bernie Sanders agenda that's coming out of Washington. We have AOC controlling Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, and she's a know-nothing person. I'm running to defeat this agenda and bring us back to some kind of center and common sense. America first, always. In the world stage, in our trade with fair trade deals, and making sure that we have safe streets, our border is secure, we're not indoctrinating our kids, we don't have debacles like that, like Afghanistan just a few months ago. Yeah,
well stated, Carla. You covered a lot there. So let me go back a little bit. Let's talk first about right now, we have a serious concern in our economy. Inflation, as you said, over 7%, record highs. The Fed now, the first thing they're doing is properly decreasing their asset purchases, which is necessary. But secondarily, the interest rate hikes are coming. And when those come, there is a significant chance we could trigger a recession. So let me have your thoughts on that possibility, because at a time when, thank God for Senator Joe Manchin putting the brakes on this thing, at a time when they want to put trillions more into our economy. It's like monopoly money we're playing with. But go ahead.
It's like gasoline on a fire, right? Gasoline on a fire. We all are feeling this pressure of the price increase. The wages aren't keeping up with it. Families are falling behind. We want to bring back the glory days of a great economy with common sense regulation, removing regulations that are onerous from, for instance, our farmers, our energy sector, common sense regulations, but no death tax that takes the family farm, making sure that our energy sector can grow. We harvest energy cleaner in the United States than anywhere in the world. Why wouldn't we want to do it cleanly rather than shipping it over to where? Russia or the Middle East, where they harm the environment. So how do we get this done? We have to stop them. I will work to defund these bills, the multi-trillion-dollar bills in Washington that they've already passed. I'll give you an example. Recently, they passed, and they don't have a majority. They're jamming this on the slimmest margin of a majority in 100 years. They passed the infrastructure bill. Pennsylvania needs infrastructure, right? We need the connectivity in our rural areas. We need to make sure that our bridges and roads and our power lines are safe and secure and they work well. We're a rich nation. We should have this, and Pennsylvania deserves it. But what they did is they packed it with like another $1 trillion of, it's mostly gifts to left-leaning groups. It's like the old Acorn stuff 15 years ago. It's leftist cities, leftist states. They're bailing out. They're giving money to activist groups that don't have the interests of Pennsylvanians in mind. They have the interest of establishing leftist infrastructure, leftist pressure that changes our country. We are a center-right country, and they're trying to turn us into Venezuela, not Denmark.
Yeah. Well, it seems it's along the coast, Carla. East Coast, West Coast, and then there's everything in between. But one of the drivers in this, and you touched on it a little earlier, what's coming out of big tech, what's coming out of academia, these what I'll call cancel culture, critical race theory ideas. We're teaching our children, indoctrinating them to basically hate this country and to believe it was an immoral country. And it's wrong and it's offensive. And they say, oh, don't pay attention to that elephant over there. Don't look. We're not doing that. They are doing that. So I like some of your thoughts on that. That issue probably galvanized the outcome of Glenn Youngkin's great victory in Virginia. So,
well, I certainly think it was part of it, because we all watched those videos of those parents standing up and defending their children in the public school in Virginia. This is what I know. Pennsylvania parents, a majority from both parties, don't want their kids indoctrinated. I had a young Black woman walk up to me in the Philadelphia suburbs and say to me, I'm 23 years old and I'm running for the school board because when I have kids, I don't want them to be indoctrinated. Literally, we have citizens stepping up and saying, we're going to stop this. I'll work to ban CRT, critical race theory, at the federal level. We should never teach our children to hate others, to think that they're a victim or an oppressor. People are people. They need to be good citizens, treat others the way they want to be treated, and follow the norms of Pennsylvania and the United States. We are a great country. We're humanitarian. We give more to the rest of the world than any country in the history of the world. We're a good, hardworking people, a Judeo-Christian founded nation.
Yes.
We need to get back to that. And bringing those virtues and values back to our children in school is going to be one of the most powerful things. President Trump founded toward the end of his administration the 1776 Project to teach children the history of our great country. We have a glorious history. It's the greatest in the history of the world. It's not perfect. Yes, they can learn warts and all. We have to know the truth, but we also don't want activists like this woman that wrote the 1619 Project to be able to change, not even factually based, the history of our country. When my daughter was in school, the year that she was supposed to learn about Abraham Lincoln and the Civil War, you know what her teacher told me? We're going to teach them about the Trail of Tears. Maybe we'll get to Abraham Lincoln. My dear daughter never learned about the glorious story of Abraham Lincoln, except for me reading her books and telling her the story. I mean, and that's part of our family's history, and part of Pennsylvania's history. Where I grew up is the most northern place. They had Civil War encampments, and they called it Camp Hill. So that's, I mean, it's part of that Civil War history. And that is very close to people from Gettysburg. Think about that. It's part of what makes us a great nation, that we recover and we correct course.
Nicole Hannah-Jones was the lead essayist in the 1619 Project that you referred to, and she has been discredited from the left. She's been discredited from the progressive left. Princeton historians, one of my favorites, George F. Will, factually inaccurate and flat out not true. Like not even taking a kernel of truth and extrapolating. Completely untrue. There is no evidence of a single colonist or colony suggesting that the American Revolution was fought to protect the right to slavery and the right to produce cotton in the South. Garbage.
Right. She made it up out of whole cloth just to make people hate other people. But we can go even further on this education issue, because we're competing on a global level for talent and for expertise. And we spend a lot of money on education, probably more than any country in the world. And our kids deserve an outstanding education. We're paying for it. So we need to make sure that kids, no matter what zip code they're from here in Pennsylvania, that their kids have the opportunity to get that great education that you and I got here in Pennsylvania. I got a public school education. It was outstanding, and it set me up for success for life. Every Pennsylvania child deserves that. And I will fight at the federal level to make sure that we don't have the mischief that's happening right now, where kids don't get that opportunity and they dumb down the curriculum. We are competing with the world, and we need to remember that and take care of our kids.
Carla, let's, in a few minutes we have left. Now, as a United States Senator, you're going to be dealing extensively in foreign policy. We have a couple big issues, China and Russia. So let's start right now. I have grave concerns because I see our European allies on bended knee to Vladimir Putin to have him turn on the energy they should be getting from the United States of America, by the way. They're not. And does that concern you, and what would you do about it?
I want to talk about security in general for just a second.
Sure,
because
please.
Yesterday we just released our brand new commercial, Secure the Border, Build the Wall. And you can find it. It's on Fox and on social media and on our website, carlasands.com, carlasands.com, because I worked with the Trump administration to secure all the American citizens. How did I do it? Denmark is a kingdom. It has Greenland and the Faroe Islands as well. And Russia and China were very involved up in Greenland, and the United States, and it's part of North America, Greenland. And it's a third the size of the continental US, just off our northeast coast. We hadn't had a diplomatic relationship for 67 years. I put a consulate in Greenland. We got a Coast Guard billet for the region. And I was awarded the Department of Defense's highest civilian honor, the Medal for Distinguished Public Service, for my work to secure the region. We worked to counter China and Russia every day. They are our adversaries. Right. We want peace with everybody, but they are our adversaries, and we need to remember it. Russia has militarized its Arctic coast. It has missiles on their icebreakers. They literally have armed their icebreakers. They have about 40 icebreakers. We have about 2. One doesn't always work. So just think about that. We need more security in the world. This administration, with the failure in Afghanistan, the loss of 13 precious military lives there, the debacle that they created, President Trump had a plan to pull us out of there. You can see China aggressing Taiwan more and threatening others. They threatened us during the pandemic. Maybe you don't get your medications that you need because most of the ingredients come from China. We actually need to make things here in Pennsylvania and in the United States. That makes us safer and more secure. We have to make things. We can't rely on adversaries for things that we need, especially critical things. So I will work to secure us and continue that work that I started as President Trump's ambassador to Denmark.
Great. Well stated, Carla. And you've highlighted some of the issues that we face. Taiwan is being threatened by China. The Ukraine is being threatened by Vladimir Putin and Russia. And it appears our president is like fiddling as Rome's burning. He's talking about sanctions, and it's kind of becoming a joke to me. We need to make our position and our policies clear. We need to have people in the United States Senate that will force the hand of our government and our administration to call into account what's going on and to educate the American people. I take it that's a big issue for you.
It is. So I will always be on the offense for the people of Pennsylvania in the Senate. I will never back down. I will always fight to protect them and their interests. That is what I did as the ambassador. I will just tell you, the only place that Russian gas pipeline wasn't built was in Danish waters while I was the ambassador. We worked to block it. And then we worked to block it in the EEZ zone, the economic zone of Denmark. Then we blocked it with the threat of sanctions. My team and I were the only area that pipeline was not built. And what happened within the first few months of Biden's administration, this out of control leftist administration, they okayed the Russian pipeline and they canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. They are at war with American and Pennsylvania energy. I will fight to maximize our energy potential. It is important for our economic and our national security. I will do it in Washington, and I will never back down. I am the only candidate in this race that can win the primary and the general election. I'm the only candidate in this race that fought for America First policies the entire time that President Trump was president. And I continue to fight for them because I know how good they are for the people of Pennsylvania. They are good policies. They increase our incomes. They increase our opportunity. They increase our security around the world. The fact that China is not fulfilling its first phase trade deal that President Trump put in place is another sign that this Biden administration is weak and it's not leading in the world stage. And I worry we're going to have more trouble from Russia with Ukraine, from China, from others. We see North Korea shooting off more very sophisticated missiles. We can see what's happening in Iran. They want Obama's JCPOA back. It's unbelievable. It's the gang that can't shoot straight. We need strong Republican leadership. My friends in the Senate, like Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Tom Cotton, Senator Ted Cruz, those are the kind of leaders that I want to be. They're outstanding and they fight for their people of their state every day. That's what I want to do on behalf of Pennsylvania.
Well, Carla, you made a very eloquent and impassioned campaign statement today, full of conviction and vision. I wish you a lot of luck in your campaign. And
thank you.
If we're able to get you back before the primary, I will. Best of luck in your campaign.
Thank you. Thanks to your viewers, too.